Good morning and welcome to Spotlight on Prescott, your best source for Prescott area news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Proudly brought to you by the Rockstar Group at West USA Realty of Prescott and featuring Josh Rice, Kellen Hoskins, and Edward Tucker. So grab your coffee, get ready to start the weekend early. It's time for Spotlight on Prescott.
Hey, and we're live.
Hey, good morning.
Morning,
Good
Tucker.
morning. Good morning. Spotlight on Prescott time.
Welcome, live from the Gateway Mall in Prescott. Well, that's what the intro video just said, right?
It's Thursday morning. Welcome to the show, everybody. Today we've got a special guest. We plan on having a guest that looked a little different from you, but that's okay. We get it.
Things happen.
Our guest Phil Good was called away at the last minute, but we have his campaign manager, which is pretty good. We're excited to have you. Thank you so much for being on the show. I think we're going to just lead in
Should we go right into it?
some questions for you.
All right.
And some talking points that we wanted to chat with you about Phil's candidacy for the mayor of Prescott. One of the biggest issues that seems to be on everyone's mind right now is the one of growth and responsible growth versus quote unquote irresponsible growth. Also the question of, personal property rights. Should a person be able to do with their property what they want to do with their property? And I know that Phil has some stances on that. Would you care to relay his message for us?
Well, Kellen, I think that it ties in with growth and water. They're kind of interchangeable, and I think we need to be more responsible with water. And Phil came to me and asked me to help him with the campaign, and I was on city council from 2012 to 2016, and when I was on council, we allowed 3 homes per acre foot of water. Well, in 2019, they changed that to where now 5+ homes are allowed per acre foot of water. The people of Prescott did a really good job of conserving, and the reward for that was, okay, now we can build more homes. We can allocate more water out. And, the current mayor says that we're only using half of what the state allows, and that's true, but our wells are going down. And, you guys are in real estate. There's wells going dry in Williamson Valley. There's wells going dry in Chino. There's wells going dry in Coyote Springs. And that's a warning sign that the aquifer is going down. And if we start using way more water than that, we're going to be in some serious trouble here in the future. And I always thought when it comes to like my money and water, conservative is best. Be prepared for the future.
Okay.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because that is a big issue, obviously. But the question though, I always have this too. I go, people always talk about growth, and you see these exaggerated numbers. You see people say, "Oh, we're growing 20%," and do we know how many permits were issued in the last 5 years in Prescott for new homes?
No, but we were looking at the growth charts, and when you look over the last 10 years, we're between 1% and 2%. But if you look over
per year, right?
Yeah,
1 to 2%.
on an average.
On an average per year, yeah.
But when you look at the last 3 years, we're doing 4, 5, and it looks like about 6%, because we're seeing the results of the building, the development really coming into play right now.
So what would obviously this is Chris Kukniau. I say it right?
No, Kukniau, but don't feel bad. I went back to Hungary about 12 years ago and found out I was saying my name wrong too.
So that's
it
the
ain't
problem.
bad.
I've known Chris a long time, and I think when I met you, that's how you said your name, maybe.
No, I don't think so. But because we used to be on the Prescott Valley Chamber of Commerce.
I know.
And that kind of started my political stuff, but it hasn't been as fun. PV Chamber was the most fun to be on the board.
You're right.
We had a good time.
We did. But so my question would be then, what is a good or a reasonable growth rate for the area?
I think we need to stay between 1% and 2%, and Phil is feeling the same way. And what you want to be able to do too is keep up with all the infrastructure that you need as a city as well. So when you start growing, you add more people, you need more police, you need more fire, you need more stations. As these areas grow, you need to have traffic studies, and we haven't done a complete comprehensive traffic study for as long as memory serves. And you're starting to see some of the impacts of that in the busy times in Prescott, where you're seeing traffic start to load up, you're seeing a lot more people. And you've been around here a long time too. We always have grown, and we know we are going to grow, but we need to plan better for that growth in the future.
Sure.
So from an economic standpoint, in relationship to growth, growth is the main industry that fuels the economy of the Prescott area. It's growth, and then second place by a pretty long measure is medical. So the majority of our economic stability in this area comes from growth. So how do we manage growth better while still keeping a strong and vibrant economy here in the Prescott area?
Well, we just have to grow at the right pace. I mean, if you overload it, it's too much, right? I mean, when you pour water into your cup, you don't just dump the container like that. You bring it up slow. So, and I think what a lot of people don't realize also is when you just have rooftops, that has to have a commercial component to it. Because when the city of Prescott really does not get very much money at all from property tax. They're basically driven from sales tax. That's where they get most of their money to fund the general fund. So when you take an area and you just have nothing but rooftops, that's not bringing the city much money to pay for police, to pay for fire, to pay for infrastructure, and things like that. So you need to have the stores that go along with it, the gas stations, the mini marts, the mall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I don't know. I mean, I think if you ask anybody, I don't think anybody would disagree that you need to grow responsibly. We only have one side of the candidacy here. So
I think we should mention that. We did reach out
to both campaigns.
To Mayor Mangarelli's campaign to be present here this morning, and they declined our invitation because Greg had other commitments in place already by the time our invitation went out.
Sure.
So it wasn't that he's avoiding the discussion. It was simply by the time our invitation went out, he was already otherwise engaged.
Yeah.
So I want to make that clear because we don't endorse
either side.
Any one candidate. We're very neutral as far as this particular topic is concerned because we feel like that's important to be that way.
Yeah.
And we had this opportunity, so we wanted to sit down and talk and kind of give a chance before the election.
Which is coming up on Tuesday.
Which is happening now. I mean, people are...
Thank God.
Yeah.
I'm ready for this one to be over. It's been a lot of work.
It's been a lot of work.
Yeah.
Well, and back to what I was saying, I think responsible growth is something that is obviously important. And I think it's just how the different approaches to what is responsible growth to one person versus another. And I know my own personal opinion on growth is I've lived here a long time. You've lived here an even longer time, and we've grown. But it's not like we have doubled. How long has it been? We have 46,000 people in Prescott, 47,000, something like that, right? I've been saying that for 5 years. I feel like it's not like I was saying there's 44,000 people now. There's 62,000 people. So it's not like we're growing at rates that are crazy. A lot of people think that, though. I think that, Chris, like they think that there's 20,000 people moving into town because they'll see a subdivision or something get approved with 6,000 houses, but they don't realize that 6,000 houses over the next 20 years. It's not 6,000 houses tomorrow. I mean, we can't. I think if you go get a house built, we're obviously all in real estate. You're going to be waiting a year to have a house built for you right now.
Right.
There's a huge backlog,
and they're selling them as fast as they can build them.
That's
a
are.
Well,
fact.
and a lot of those homes, especially in the smaller, more kind of cookie cutter developments, thinking of Saddlewood and Westwood right now specifically, are going to people who are moving from renting to going into home ownership, sometimes for the first time, which home ownership rates are one economic indicator that a community is healthy. The higher the home ownership rate is, the better the long-term plan is for a community.
Sure.
Which ties into economic development.
Right.
I mean, we have to keep bringing the jobs in, but
Right.
we are
let's transition to
predominantly
that.
retired, though.
That's a great transition. Let's go into economic development. Does Phil have anything specific that he is promoting as far as how he's going to help the economy grow in the area.
Yeah, he wants to keep developing around the airport, which is a great place to have businesses because right now we're surrounding the airport with homes, and that airport's going to grow. I mean, there's plans to
Right.
make the runway longer, and
Sure.
wouldn't you rather have, and there's a lot of commercial around that, and they just got, I think it was called CT Technologies, I think is the company coming in.
Yeah.
They want to bring in other companies, locate them around the airport, and those are decent paying jobs because as we see in hospitality, when we rely just on tourism, there's lots of jobs, but they don't pay that much. You need to have
Right.
career type jobs.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's
Well,
huge.
and that presents another challenge to home ownership.
Yeah.
Because
Precisely.
and so that's the delicate dance, as it were, between development and economic development is the more people that we have that can't afford to live here, the people that leave first are the ones that we depend on the most for our day-to-day lives. A company like Ruger is great to have around. They have some great high-paying jobs. It's a stable job, but most of the jobs here are in the service industry.
Or
And those
healthcare,
or
like you brought,
healthcare.
or government. There's a lot of government jobs. and-
Correct.
Which that's a whole separate problem.
Right.
In and of
Right.
itself, if you ask
I'm
me.
with
But,
you on that.
But the fact remains that as the people in the service industry are priced out of the market, even the rental market, they find somewhere else to go. We're seeing that happen right now in Lake Havasu City, where the prices have exploded even more than they are here, and the service industry is simply leaving. And it's going to create a massive economic problem for Lake Havasu City, and I would love to not see that happen here.
Yeah.
But to that point, if we're seeing, like, you remember the push for $15 minimum wage?
Sure.
We're seeing people offer 15, 16 because they can't get the workers. The economy is driving itself, and it's making those wages go up because of demand, supply and demand, rather than just legislating that
Oh,
you have to
sure.
be this
Yeah.
much money. Now, because there's not that many workers, they're getting that higher wage too.
But a lot of people would argue that one way to ease the price of living, whether that be renting or home ownership, is to simply have more homes.
Well, I
Better available.
think inflation is just taking off like a rocket. We
That's
just haven't reported
that's a
it yet.
major issue.
I mean, you
right
guys
now.
can see it in the
Oh, yeah.
stores. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
it's.
Everything's
yeah.
more expensive. Yeah.
And I went through McDonald's and I got a simple meal and she goes, $12.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I think we need to do a better job in the communities of talking to each other too. We've never done that. There's always been a kind of a competition with Prescott Valley. I think we need to do better talking about that. And Chino, bring everybody in. And there's a organization called Simpo that works on the roads and stuff. And I think they're a very functional unit. And I'd like to see more of that with water and with growth. And instead of fighting for who's going to annex this, who's going to move in what, can we really work together better?
So this isn't the first time that water's been. I guess we're going back to water, which is okay.
Well, I mean,
it's a big topic.
It all
huge.
feeds each other.
Yeah, it does.
The housing, the water, the
does.
economic development. They're all
Because
things
let's
that
face it, well,
feed off of one another.
Here's an interesting thing, though. With the water thing, this isn't the first time we've had a major discussion about water, and actually these municipalities have done things like they bought a big ranch, right?
The Big Chino Water Ranch.
Chino Water
So
Ranch.
we work off the Little Chino, and basically Prescott gets its water from almost like the center of Chino Valley, which is the deepest part of the aquifer. Then you go further down the road and you look off to your left when you get by Paulden, and there's that big valley. The Big Chino Water Ranch is up there, and Prescott Valley share ownership of the water under that ground. But they still need to build a pipeline,
Sure.
which hasn't been done, which is estimated now between like $200 and $300 million that we'd have to pony up to get that. And then we still have to go through the 10 years of lawsuits with SRP, the Verde Valley, because that's the headwaters to the Verde River. And it's the last
Right.
year-round river that we got flowing in Arizona.
Sure.
So do we want to be careful with that? I just think being conservative with water is always the smartest route to go. And right now,
I agree.
Phil thinks we're being irresponsible too. We'd like to just move back to a conservative water policy like we had, where it's 3 homes per acre foot rather than 5+ homes per acre foot. And that'll naturally slow the growth down, but we also need to talk to Prescott Valley, who's growing like fire, and Chino
Right.
Valley, who's really taken off too.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's almost the bigger issue, is getting all of the major townships in our Quad Cities area to actually work together, as opposed to working as almost competitors. I don't think it serves the public interest for it to be that way, and I'm certainly hoping that we can change that narrative, because, speaking with folks who work with nonprofits, for example, there are nonprofits in Prescott Valley that the deep pockets that happen to live in Prescott won't touch them, just simply because they're in Prescott Valley.
Yeah. And,
So that attitude is pervasive throughout our entire community, and it should be a community. I mean, we're all so close together that.
And when we do these developments, we need to hold the developers accountable, no matter where they're at, to do what they say they're going to do. There was a debate last night with all the candidates, and it was on biking and trails and things that make Prescott worth living in. And there's been times where here's the development agreement, and it looks good. We have open space, we have trails, and then when it starts to actually get built, they start changing it. And there was one example where they had a trail, but then the developer said, you know what, this could be a sidewalk. Well, you can't legally ride a bike on a sidewalk. A sidewalk is not a trail in open space. So I think what we need to do is, once this happens, we need to hold them accountable to do what they said they were going to do to begin with.
Yeah, I think that's.
I agree with that as well.
And that's why people are moving here, right? They're
Yeah.
getting out of the city and they want to get into the woods. They want to have connectivity with the trails. And everyone wants to take credit for our trail system, but really it's Joe Baines and Chris Hoskins that gets out there with the Over the Hill gang, and they knock this stuff out. They've taken us from 20 miles of trails, I think it was 15 years ago. Now we got 120 miles of trails built. So
Well, a lot of volunteer efforts go into that. I remember working with an old high school friend on his Eagle Scout project, rebuilding the parts of the Peavine Trail.
Yeah.
That had just gone. I mean, it was still technically there, but they were impassable.
And whatever you build, you got to maintain too, which brings it in. And they've been struggling with these recent rains, but we have an awesome trail system. And
We do.
I had Chris Hoskins on my radio show, and he said, you know what? You never see an unhappy person on the trail. And you think about that; it's
Yeah.
true. When people get out there, they're loving being out there.
Oh, that's very
Yeah.
true. So growth. What other topic do we have for Chris?
We want to talk about transparency in government.
Absolutely.
To me, that's a paramount issue, because this shouldn't come as a surprise to people who know me at all. I am not a giant fan of government and how it is today. I think it's gotten far too bloated. It's gotten far too much power and far too much control. And a lot of that happens because of a lack of transparency. The public doesn't know what's going on. They don't know that they've been screwed until it's happening.
Well, Phil wants to do a couple things that would change. There hasn't been for a long time a call to the public where you as a citizen can show up at a city council meeting and air some kind of concern to the city council. That doesn't happen right now. Also, the current mayor installed this system that's like this green, yellow, red light where you get 3 minutes to talk and the lights are changing on you, and when that red light hits, that mic's coming off and you're done talking. In the past, mayors have just, if you have strong leadership, they say, you know what, and you're getting good information from the public, let them speak. Don't cut them off at 3 minutes. And if they are rambling on, you say, you know what, you're repeating yourself. If other people in the audience are going to say the same thing, please don't. Let's get through the meeting. And instead of having like this regimented 3 minutes of speaking, because really, if there's a serious subject in Prescott, how are you going to talk about that in 3 minutes? So Phil will get rid of that red light system. He'll restore the call to the public where people can actually show up. And I think that's a huge step in moving forward. And a big example was the other day when the people up there in Prescott Lakes, they were going to have 7 office buildings, doctor's offices, and those guys are there 9 to 5, quiet nights, low impact.
Right.
Now they combine those parcels and they want to build a 3-story apartment complex that has like 260 apartments in it. That's a huge change and a huge impact to the community. Well, 100 people showed up at City Hall for that, and now they're going to look at it and reconsider. And that kind of public input, what you're talking about, has now driven the developer of that property to have a public meeting August 4th at the Adult Center where he's going to meet with the public, explain what he wants to do, and answer questions. And that's really how our government should work. It should be open, it should be transparent, because outside of that, if they wouldn't ever got aware of that, all of a sudden you would have just saw that apartment building going up.
Right.
And that's not the right way of doing it.
True. True. I agree with that 100%.
And you got to be very careful with executive sessions, and that's the sessions behind closed doors. And I forget what you got to talk about lawsuits, personnel issues, and something else in there. I forget what it is, but
Things that need to stay confidential, and I respect that.
Yeah.
But those closed door sessions need to be few and far between, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you, and they have to be the exception, not the rule.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And Phil feels that same way. So I mean, I'm doing all this for nothing. I've been busting hump for Phil since May, really, and it's just because I think the city's going in the wrong direction, and I think Phil's the man to send us back in the right direction and get a hold of things before they get out of hand, especially when it comes to water. Once you give that water away,
you never get it back.
People aren't going to stop showering. They're not going to stop flushing toilets.
Yeah.
Once you build those homes and that water's gone, it's gone.
So we had a question from a viewer that, Phil's already on council.
Yeah.
So how, if he wins and is the mayor, how does he feel he'll better, that vote will be versus his current council vote? How is that going to be different for him?
Well, there's big differences. When you're the mayor, you can put things on the agenda. Where when Phil first got on, he didn't have any support, and you'd see votes that were 6-1, 6-1, 6-1. He'd go and say, you know what, I want to talk about this subject that the people that elected me want to talk about. Well, city council rules say you need 2 city council people to agree to put something on the agenda. Okay. And he couldn't get anybody to go with him to put something on the agenda. As mayor, you can do that. Mayor also puts people on the different committees. So the mayor is the one that assigns people, like, okay, you're on water, you're on trails, you're on whatever, and he divvies that out. So it is a big change. And things will get talked about. The way things are talked about will change with the call to the public, without cutting the public off like that. I think it'll be a much better, much more transparent system than what we got going on now.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Appreciate that.
Got another question in. More importantly than growth is affordability for locals competing with outside money coming from other states. What is Phil's thought on that?
I mean, we see that all the time, and we need to have the apartments. We need to have the different levels of housing. And like, frankly, right now, Prescott is just out of reach of anybody that works for a living for the most part,
In Prescott, yeah.
In Prescott. So you're looking at Chino, you're looking at Prescott Valley, and it's going to be tough. I don't know when it's going to hump over, if it'll ever hump over. As long as the people from California are selling their houses for millions, they come here with all that cash, they can pretty much buy what they want. And another thing that that's really kind of impacting housing is the Airbnbs. People are now buying homes in Prescott strictly to rent them out. And the last I heard, there was over 400 homes for Airbnb here. Well, that's taking houses off the market for a person that works. And
Sure.
the smaller houses downtown are big on that because everyone wants their little hotel room downtown. So, and I understand that Sedona is getting really overrun with Airbnbs.
Yeah.
Sure.
So there's a lot of factors playing in there. And my kid just got out of the Coast Guard and moved down here. And, they have $300,000 from a VA loan to go looking for a house. And we're out there looking. And for $300,000, you're looking at garbage. It's going to be a manufactured that's falling apart. And that's what's out there for $300,000. And, It's sad because I'm dealing with that right now, and how are we going to deal with it? I don't know. I'd have to really get that from Phil to move forward with that. But having the different zonings, having the different areas, and working with the surrounding communities.
One thing, for example, is the fact that the city of Prescott is currently not issuing permits for a newly built manufactured home within city limits.
Because you need that zoning. You need the right zoning. And
So that's a zoning change that I think is smart, both for our economic development and for smart growth, because the fact of the matter is the manufactured homes that are being built today are not the manufactured homes of the 80s.
70s and 80s, yeah.
Or even the 90s.
it sounds like you're quoting me. The same thing. They're nice places
So
now.
the fact that we're not allowing them to be built anywhere with a Prescott address, I think is a major slap in the face to our working class, who they want a place to live. They want that quote unquote American dream of home ownership, of building. Most people's net worth is tied up in their home. Your net worth is the roof over your head. And as long as we keep driving things like apartments and rentals, we're simply not moving the needle for the people who run this town.
Absolutely. But
Truthfully, run
if you
this
think
town.
about it, Deepwell Ranch, instead of building their homes, they could have changed the zoning and put manufactured homes in there. You're talking about the private sector has to drive this demand.
Yeah.
And there's lots of land up north, but if you could do that manufactured home and make it affordable as a developer, or you can build this house and sell it for $600,000 bucks.
Yeah.
I don't like the way the development's going where they strip every living thing from the ground that knows how to live on what falls from the sky.
Sure.
We didn't used to do that, and now that seems like it's almost the norm. And then we replace it with trees that need to be irrigated. Once again, really being not right on our handling of water. Why are we pouring it on the ground when you just ripped out an oak tree that's been living there for 30 years? Can we work around that stuff? And on zoning, I think that needs to be tightened up a lot because we have a zoning called business general. Well, there's a lot of stuff that can go in there.
Right.
But now the impact of a single-story doctor's office, and then you could say, okay, we don't want to do that. Let's put in this high-density apartment complex. That affects the neighbors that it's right next to too. So I think zoning needs to be tightened up a lot, and maybe add in the zoning that allows the manufacturers, because they're beautiful nowadays.
Yeah, I mean,
They
they're
really
2x6
There's some beautiful
construction.
houses.
They're the main difference between a site-built house and these newer manufactured homes is simply the fact that they were pre-assembled halfway somewhere else and then brought on site.
Right.
And I have one more question just in regards to that, and you may be able to answer it, you may not. But going back to holding developers responsible, one thing, you talk about ripping up existing foliage to replace it with decorative stuff that really hurts the earth more than it helps the earth. The impact fees that are being charged right now to developers is laughable. And that's not a public sector driving it.
Well, and that was your state government driving that, because we used to have a lot more impact fees and a lot more flexibility that we could do. Like part of the impact fee went to Parks and Rec, and that disappeared. The developers were saying, you know what, you're charging us so much impact fees that we can't make a profit on what we're selling. So the state changed that law and took that away and then put a lot of conditions on. So instead of having an impact fee Prescott-wide to pay for fire station, you have to charge this
added
individual area, and then if you don't build it, you got to go refund that money back after 10 years. I mean, the rules that got on there were real wanky. And to get back to that, it's going to have to be at a state level, which is the sad truth, even though we're a chartered city.
Okay.
Interesting.
Am I answering these questions?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
you
you're fine.
absolutely
And-
are. You absolutely are.
And I got to say,
I know it's difficult to answer on behalf of somebody,
Right.
but we're all hopeful, and I think you've done a great job of answering questions on behalf of Phil.
Yeah.
Just from some other statements I've seen from him directly, these all seem to be relatively in line.
And you know,
with
you
his
can
stances,
you can
so.
see it right from the horse's mouth at his website, and that's philgood4mayor.com. So
Okay.
go there. It lays out all the platforms, the things he wants to do, and really, there's no more. I mean, we're 5 days away. There's no more opportunities to go see him in a forum or debate or anything like that. But it's going to be a close race, and I'm backing Phil because he aligns with what I feel, and I think we need to take a step back with our water, be conservative, slow the growth down just a little bit so we can stay up with it and keep Prescott a quality community. Because I think if we keep going the way we're going, the developers will be gone, we'll be left with the problems, and now we got to deal with water issues. And I mean, out at my house, I live in Williamson Valley, I drilled a 950-foot dry hole. There's issues, and the earth is telling us from all these wells going dry, there's issues. And to say we're only using half what the state allows, if we used all what the state allows, what would happen? And even the municipal wells are dropping every year. And that's a sign. We got to be smart with water. If not, we're in for some serious problems.
Yeah,
Well-
explosive growth plus a 20-year drought.
Yeah, let's all
is-
agree that hopefully some of this monsoon rain we're getting this year is going to help us a little
It's been a
bit.
great monsoon. We need a couple of
Multiple
good
years of
ones.
these, but yeah.
You bet.
We need a couple of good ones to really
you know,
dig out of that hole for sure.
And development, you know, the Stringfield Ranch got brought up where the mayor wanted to send them water and sewer. But when we voted on the general plan in Prescott, the voters did, and we said, yes, these are where our boundaries are. This is where we want growth to go. That's outside of
Right.
that boundary that the voters voted on. And Phil is just respecting that and saying, you know what, this is what the voters said. We're not going to just go give them water and sewer. And so then if you got Stringfield Ranch, which is in Williamson Valley, he wants to now take water out of the middle of Chino Valley, the deepest part of the aquifer, and send it out there. Well, how's that going to affect all the other people on both sides of Williamson Valley on their wells? So
Yeah.
we just got to we're being irresponsible, and that needs to change.
All right. Well,
I think that's fair enough.
Chris, thanks for so much for coming in and
Yeah.
sharing
We
some
really
thoughts with us.
appreciate you being here and taking the time. Yeah.
And this place is great, you guys. I've never been in your office yet. I mean, you got so
Thank
much
you.
technology, and I mean, I'm used to rolling up and down windows on cars. You know, my phone had a
I think it's
cord.
time to get a new car.
This is like the Starship
There's the humor.
Rockstar.
I knew it would come out. I knew it
There
would.
he is.
Right.
Time for a new car.
Well, thank you again. We appreciate you being here today, and best of luck to Phil.
We'll
If
know
you
in 5
haven't
days.
voted by mail, the election is on Tuesday.
Yeah, make
so
sure you bring your ballot down to the.
Yeah, you
City
got to
Hall.
walk it in now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
You can go to the county building. They have a voter
Dropbox there,
Dropbox
too.
too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks so much.
All right,
Chris.
thanks,
All
guys.
right,
Thank you
buddy.
very much.
now,
All right. Hey, should we get right into weather?
yeah,
You
let's
know-
go right into the weather.
All right. Let's check out what's going on.
Awesome. Well, yeah, it's going to be another rainy, thundery week ahead of us. So today we're going to have some thunderstorms, some rain. High of 88, low of 66. Friday we're going to have high of 84 and a low of 64. Saturday it's going to be a high of 83, low of 62. Sunday is going to be a high of 84, low of 60. Monday, we're going to have a high of 85, low of 61. Thursday, we're going to have a high of 89, a low of 62. And then Wednesday, high of 86 and a low of 61.
All right,
we're
so
gonna
I got a
have
question.
Rain and thunder.
I got a question.
Yes.
So on the graphic right now, there's days that have rain,
Yes.
and there's days that have rain and lightning. So are we not getting any lightning on Tuesday and Wednesday? I'm so disappointed.
I can't guarantee. I
No,
can't
so
guarantee
there's
anything.
guarantees of lightning Thursday, Friday,
Yes.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
There is.
But no guarantee of lightning on Tuesday or Wednesday.
None at all.
Okay.
Well, it
It's
can't
just
run.
gonna be- it's
It
gonna be
can't
a
run
light-
every day, all day. Come
It's
on.
going to be a light drizzle
Be reasonable.
Tuesday, Wednesday.
Be
Yeah.
reasonable.
So, yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know how that works, and I saw our slide today, and I just want the viewers to know what that means.
What's
you know?
going on
Yeah.
with that?
So that's that's cool. Well, should we get our business spotlight in here?
Absolutely.
All right, local business spotlight.
So,
Adam, come join us, buddy.
come on in. We got another special guest this morning.
Mr. Adam England, how
How's
are
it
you?
going, everybody?
So
Hey,
Adam
good
is
morning,
with Manzanita Insurance, and I know I'm not going to mispronounce your name. like Chris is.
It's a pretty
Adam,
easy one.
England.
Right. So
How's it going?
It's good. It's going good. Yesterday was our 1-year anniversary.
No way.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
So
man.
so it's been great.
very cool.
You made
It's
it
been
the
a big
1 year.
It's been a big year.
That's awesome.
It's been a year? Seriously?
Yeah.
It seems like 2 days ago. Well, not 2 days
You
ago.
guys had a lot going on here too.
We
did.
were a little
We've
bit
had a couple
busy
things.
for a couple of months, yes.
Yeah.
So you were asked a kind of funny question a little while earlier, and it kind of segues into that. What kind of insurance do you do?
Basically, I do everything but health insurance. I do auto and home and life, umbrellas, toys like ATVs, UTVs, boats, motorhomes, RVs, but then we also get into small businesses. And that's where we really fill a niche because we're also tax accountants. And so we have a real intimate knowledge of how insurance and taxation coincide and how that affects whether it's a small business owner in construction or another service industry, or somebody that has a dozen rental properties that's a small business owner like that, managing their own affairs.
Nice.
So we can really help in a lot of different ways.
Very cool, man.
So you've been around a year. And
I've been around a little longer than that.
Well,
but,
your
but
current
Manzanita's
business-
been in a year.
been in-
Manzanita Insurance has been around for a year, but you've been in the insurance game for quite a while. Are you seeing any changes in your industry over the last year? You know, that can affect consumers? What should people be looking out for? I think a lot of people think of insurance as kind of a set it and forget it type of a situation. They're like, oh, I got that policy. As long as I keep paying that premium, I'm good.
Yeah, you've got a few things on the short term and then also on the long term horizon that are affecting people, and they may not be entirely aware of. For auto insurance, the cars that you bought 10 years ago didn't have backup cameras and sensors. So now you've got all these new safety features, but what was a $500 bumper repair, roll up windows, what was a small, cheap repair might now be $1,500. So people are now making claims more often on what was a small fender bender, and that's jacking their rates up year after year.
Okay.
A lot of the insurance industry has gone to catastrophic only. We've seen this with healthcare, that we have $10,000 deductibles on health insurance plans, and then if you have a major heart attack or cancer, that's where the insurance really comes into play. So people who are willing to self-insure with a higher deductible on their cars and their homes often get a better rate, and then they're not making those small claims and not being impacted because those claims stay on your record for 5 years.
Right.
And then with the home industry, it's just been crazy over the last year, 18 months. We've seen the prices here in our little microcosm of Prescott skyrocket. And somebody that bought their house 5-10 years ago, their policy might have a 3% per year inflation adjustment. Well, that
Okay.
didn't take care of the $150,000 your house improved in value in the last 18 months.
Wow.
And so you really need to be reviewing those things regularly to make sure that you're covered properly.
coverage.
Because if your house burns down and you're insured at the value from 2005, you're not going to
in
be
trouble.
covered today.
That's very true. Now, another thing that we've been dealing with in the last week, just talking about weather, is rain, hail, flooding. What do you have going on with that?
So your normal home hazard policy and auto policy both cover hail. That's a standard one on pretty much every policy. However, flooding is not covered on a home policy at all. There's
Right.
always a separate policy. The federal government through FEMA has the National Flood Insurance Program, and that is an optional policy you can purchase, sometimes mandatory, depending on where your home is.
Okay.
But there's also private flood insurers that can get you a much better deal. So, even if you're not in a standard flood zone, this last week or two, we've seen some homes that aren't in flood zones
Right.
That
become
got
flooded.
Yeah.
And they could have had coverage for that if they bought a $300 or $400 policy maybe. And maybe it wasn't offered because it wasn't required.
Right.
And so those are things that people have to think about, what's the risk reward on it? The odds of me having a flood here, it might be once every 15, 20 years. But is that $300 policy worth it if it caused $10,000 in damage? So it's just weighing the pros and cons.
Very true. Very true. So,
Well, awesome.
how can people get a hold of you?
Adam at manzanita-insurance.com. Check us out on Facebook. Our website's the same, manzanita-insurance.com. Or I'm always open, my cell, call or text, 928-642-0073.
Thank you
Make
so
sure
much,
you
Adam.
send him nice text messages,
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Don't be mean to Adam. Adam's a good guy.
Yeah.
And if you send me a text at 10 o'clock at night, I'll just ignore you and get back to you tomorrow.
So
Reasonable.
Thank you, man. Thank you for coming
Yeah.
in for the business spotlight. But before you leave, Adam is an amateur astronomist. And
Astronomer.
Astronomer.
I was like astronomist.
Astronomist.
Economist? Astronomist?
That should be a word.
Yeah.
I make up stuff sometimes. Adam caught me on that, of course. But let's talk astronomy for a second.
Yeah.
Anything cool going on?
Yeah,
In the
so
skies?
I do write a monthly article that's in the local Five Senses magazine, so every month you can see that. It's called The Backyard Astronomer, and it's just things that you can see with a basic little telescope. You know, you spend $100, grandma gave it to you, it's been sitting in the closet for 10 years, pull it out, and you can always find something in the sky as long as we're not in monsoon season with clouds.
Yeah.
Coming up on the 2nd, I believe it is, of August, we've got the opposition of Saturn, which means that Earth is directly between Saturn and the Sun. And so we have a perfectly illuminated Saturn, the best viewing. So that's going to be on the 2nd. And then I believe the new moon, when it's dark, is on the 9th. And then on the 17th, I believe it is Jupiter's opposition. So we've got 2 planets at their best viewing of the year in the month of August.
That's awesome.
And
That's
there are
rad.
2 biggest planets,
Yeah.
so they're really easy to see and find
Yeah.
with a regular telescope. Jupiter, you can even see the 4 Galilean moons. So if you
Very
watch
cool.
it for a couple nights in a row, you'll see there'll be Jupiter and then 3 moons and 1 moon. And then the next night there might be 2 and 2. And then the next night there might be 0 and 4. So you'll see them move around the planet. It's
Awesome.
really cool to
Are
document.
you going to be doing anything cool on the Backyard Astronomer? I know you have that on Facebook. Are you going to be?
Yeah, we've
doing
got that
anything
on
with this?
Facebook. And on the 7th, actually, at Pronghorn Park in Prescott Valley, we're doing a public star party with the Prescott Astronomy Club. So
very,
as
very
you
cool.
know,
Awesome.
clouds
Hey,
willing,
make sure
bring
you
your
create an
family
event.
out.
Create an event.
We did.
And
it's already up.
We'll add it to
We'll add it
our
to
event
Spotlight on
calendar.
Prescott.
Yeah, so it's going to be
events.
a really fun event. We're glad to be back out. It's been a while since we've had one of those public star parties, and we're
awesome,
really
man.
excited to share that education.
I know last
That's really
time.
exciting.
Last time we had Jupiter and Saturn. They were like,
The conjunction when they were real
oh,
close.
dude. So just using literally, I have a hunting spotting scope,
Mm-hmm.
like 60 power. I was able to use that, and I could see the rings around Saturn. The rings around Saturn, yeah, and then Jupiter's moons.
Yeah,
And
even
just
basic
little spotting scope,
binoculars,
yeah.
you can see that.
Incredible,
Yeah.
incredible stuff.
Yeah.
That's
You know, then you show your family, and they think you're really cool. Like, you know, like, whoa, you know.
Just brush up on the article real quick,
Yeah,
and then
and then-
you'll just sound like a genius.
Don't
I
say
just go, hey, did you see
astronomist.
Rockstar?
is-
Don't say astronomist.
Yeah, don't say astronomist.
I saw a rock star.
Don't
Come on.
Don't need binoculars for that.
Come on.
No.
Yeah, so be sure to check out the Backyard Astronomer on Facebook. You can keep up with the events, and they'll be listed on Spotlight on Prescott as well.
And I really want to commend, you made a comment in the interview with Chris, talking about communities in working together, and especially helping these nonprofits. Whether it's the astronomy club, a local community theater, a kids organization, whatever it is, it doesn't matter if it's located in Chino or Dewey or Prescott Valley. We are all the Quad Cities area. We're all a
Right.
community,
Yes.
and we're so interconnected
We are.
that we've got to
100%.
work together.
100%.
Absolutely.
So
More now than ever. I mean,
Certainly.
you know, 20 years ago it was different. But
20
now
years ago, it
it's-
was a 40-minute drive from downtown Prescott to Chino Valley proper. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
And a different area code.
and a different area code. It was a
Completely
long,
Long distance
Yeah.
phone call.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a long. You had to have long distance.
The
to
world
reach
has
Chino
turned,
Valley.
and we can't allow it to leave us behind.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks, Adam.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks,
it.
guys.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Let's roll into
Some events.
Let's roll into the events real quick since
All
we're talking about
right,
events.
let's do that. We'll go into events. So, yeah, so there's not a ton of stuff on our event list this week. There's some stuff going on. So take a look. We'll post this on our site. But there, you know, go check out. Live music is happening again. So there's music going on. There's events going on. Pretty much everywhere that has the capacity, the capability to have
Right.
events going. They're doing them. Again, we'll put this slide on our Spotlight on Prescott page so you can get it, and then at any time you can go back to Spotlight on Prescott Facebook page, click on events, and you can see a list of events not only happening this weekend and this week, but into the future.
Yeah.
If you have an event that you would like to be on there, definitely send us a message, and we will make sure it gets on there.
Get it on our community calendar.
But yeah, pretty much everywhere that has events. I'll plug, you know, there's a really cool show happening this weekend.
Is there?
Yeah. And it wasn't even on the events for some reason.
What the heck, man?
It's going to be.
Why didn't you add it?
I don't. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure. But
Literally your department.
My band, if you want to come see my band.
Okay.
And you know, it's kind of different now that we have the show like this because, you know, it's my band I'm talking about.
Right.
We're playing Saturday night.
What is your band
90
for
proof. We
everybody
play
that doesn't
all
know.
90s rock, grunge, alternative
Excellent.
music from the 90s.
And you're pretty good too.
That's what I've heard. Some
Yeah.
people have said we're
You're all
okay.
right.
We're all right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kellen.
The drummer
It's-
sucks, but
it's really-
everybody else is really great.
It's really it's really adequate.
It's adequate. We're playing
No, it's very good.
at Tony's 2 in Prescott Valley
Okay.
on Saturday night. Start about 8 o'clock.
Underrated venue, in my opinion. I've played some
Yeah.
great gigs at Tony's.
It's one of those places where you drive up. We'll spotlight Tony's 2 a little bit here.
Yeah.
You drive up to Tony's 2 and you're like,
Am I at a mechanic's garage?
it basically
or-
looks like it. You look
Yeah,
like
Like a
you're
little, not like a hole in the wall by the outside, but yeah, you go in and
backside of
it's a
Prescott
good-
Valley. You know,
venue.
there's a little sign on the wall that says Tony's 2 Bar and Grill. But when you walk in there, it's really cool. They got great staff there. They got a cool little venue, cool stage area.
Yeah.
We like playing there.
You and I met at Tony's too.
Did
in
we
fact.
meet there?
Yeah, you were doing sound for a gig I was playing with Jason DeVore of Authority Zero.
There you go.
Back then.
There you go. That's awesome.
So-
That's that. See, things happen. You never know who you're gonna meet
At a gig.
at a bar,
Or a bar
on a Saturday
in
night.
general. Yeah.
You know,
Could be Jeffrey Dahmer. Could be this handsome gentleman right here.
it could be Tucker.
Could
I
be.
mean,
I like how it's at the bottom.
It
It's
could
like
be.
could be Tucker.
well,
I mean,
it's probably not gonna be Tucker,
Right.
but
That's all right.
it's okay. He, you know, like our intro video, he'd rather have the headphones on.
He's got the
go through
headphones and-
records.
I'm enjoying the music.
Yes.
I own the fact.
Hey,
Yeah.
no harm, no foul, buddy.
These have never been musically inclined.
That's okay. Well, let's get into the
I don't
market,
know-
right?
I don't know what
Because
to
we
do with
are
these
Hit
hands.
that real quick. We're running a little long today, but I think it was important to have that longer conversation with Chris. And,
absolutely.
Hopefully
Absolutely.
that's good information for the public in general. So
Well, what pays our bills is real estate.
Yeah.
We are all real estate agents. We are located here at the Gateway Mall in Prescott with a Rockstar group with the West USA Realty. Come in, say hi to us sometime. We'll
Please.
be glad to help
Be
you
awesome.
out. But let's get into the market report.
take a look.
Hit it, buddy.
So right now, and I love seeing these numbers go up week after week after week. So we've got 560 total listings, nowhere near where we need to be. But again, just happy to see those numbers have doubled over the last couple of months.
It's awesome.
So it's great. It's showing that our market is returning to something more resembling healthy as far as the real estate market is concerned. Over the last week, we had 106 new listings hit the market. The least expensive coming in at $94,000, but do keep in mind that that's in a 55 and older community, and you don't own the land under your home. So you own the building, but not the dirt underneath it. The lease for the land is like $930 a month. So
I did see that. I had a
it
couple
can
people
get-
ask me about that.
Yeah,
And
it can get a little
comes up-
steep.
That comes up often, you guys. If you see a listing for a house in Prescott for $94,000,
Know that you're going to pay.
There's a little bit more to it.
a
lot.
little red flag should come up, and
Yeah.
you should inquire with, if we're not your real estate agent, your real estate agent, to
Right.
ask, why is it only $94,000? But anyway.
Yeah. And then we had our most expensive out at Talking Rock for like $2.4 million.
Saw that house as well. Very-
Beautiful,
very nice
beautiful
house. Yep.
home. But yeah, $2.4 million. It's a stunner. I mean, you
It
really
is a
gotta
gorgeous house.
you gotta check it out. If you do want to take a look at either of these properties or any property that is on the market, give us a call. We're happy to help you out.
I just want to see that last number, the off to on ratio, get closer to 1-to-1, or a
we're-
little less than
and
1-to-1.
we're getting there.
It's getting
we're
better
getting
for
there
sure. It's getting better.
slowly but surely.
Yeah, it's getting better. For sure.
My estimate is seeing that we should be closer to that 1-to-1 and maybe even less than 1-to-1 by summer of 2022.
Okay. All right.
I think we'll double again the total number of listings that are on the market between now and then, if not a little bit more, and we'll start to see. We're already seeing it, homes staying on the market for a couple of weeks and actually having price reductions and things like that. Just signs of a return to normalcy.
That's good. It's good stuff.
But yeah, we had 101 closed last week, and we're still seeing the other off market, so cancellations, expirations, and temp off markets stay kind of hovering in that 15 per week area, which is great. This week was interesting. The majority of those were actually canceled listings. So people who decided to not sell their home.
They said, never mind.
Yeah.
all right.
So
Okay.
just an interesting little tidbit.
Fair enough.
All right.
You got history for us today?
I do have a little bit of history.
All right, let's
hit
real
it.
quick.
The history.
So it was something Kellen, you and I have talked about a little bit. Sullivan Lake.
It's a cool spot, man.
It's a pretty cool little spot. It's about a mile south of Paulden, between Chino and Paulden, on old Highway 89.
Yeah.
Not on the new one, but there's a loop that comes around, and it's been dubbed Old Highway 89.
Right.
So it was pretty cool digging into the history of it. It was early 1930s. They started building it in 1934 on behalf of the Prescott Sportsman Group that wanted a fishing and hunting spot.
Yeah.
There's some, I feel weird saying ruins. They call them ruins, but some old, buildings, rock buildings.
I sent you a picture of one yesterday. It was,
Yeah, super cool. And, because they're from 1930s, I don't know if you can call them ruins, but so they started building it. The dam and everything got built in 1934, but they had to stop when attack on Pearl Harbor happened. World War II started, and all the workers had to be devoted to that, and it just never got restarted.
Yeah.
So it's right there at the base, the beginning of the Verde River.
There's a cool railroad bridge there and everything.
Yeah.
And what's really cool, I like to go there during this time of year because that lake fills up and starts spilling over.
Right.
And it's
a waterfall.
a massive waterfall. I mean, it's nearly deafening to stand there and listen to that water run
Well, and that's
over the
what
dam.
got
It's really
us started
a cool
kind of
place.
talking about it, and then the buildings. To come to find out, the big building there was supposed to be the clubhouse for the club, and then the other smaller buildings were the duck blinds
Yeah.
for them to actually do their shooting
Sit in.
from.
Nice.
So
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty rad.
Some cool little history there.
Yeah, if you, again, just
Definitely check
go
it out.
north on 89, and then take old Highway 89, and you can't miss it.
Right.
It is,
And right
a
now
a
it's
lot of it's public or
flowing.
private property, so be respectful of that, but there's still some great spots to go, hop out of the car and take a look around. It's
Yeah,
really
and
pretty
it's
cool.
flowing really good. Right
Real
now.
good right now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
I think it's going to do it for us this
Anything
week,
else good
gentlemen.
for the
Let's
order,
put a different
boys? Let me think here. No.
All right.
Oh, I went to a good concert last night. Foreigner.
Oh,
Prescott.
yeah, Foreigner
So
played
I did
last
want
night.
to say something about that before I forget.
Okay.
It was great to see 3,000 people out at a concert in Prescott Valley last night. It really was cool.
That's a crowd,
pretty
man.
cool.
Yeah.
That's
It was
a big
a half
crowd.
full, but it was full. I got some pictures I'll show you.
Nice. dude.
It was.
I don't wanna
and
see 'em.
honestly, the band was great. They were good, and it was the first time they had played. I think since the whole COVID thing. Like,
Right.
It was the first stop back, and they were
Well,
all
they were
jazzed
supposed to play last year,
Yeah.
and obviously
A lot
that
of,
didn't happen.
A lot of concerts have been put off and everything
Yeah.
like that. So it's nice that it's opening back up and there's big crowds coming.
Yeah, they got some other stuff coming. Jeff Dunham's coming over there too. I thought that was pretty cool.
I like Jeff Dunham.
Yeah.
He's like guilty pleasure comic for me.
Yes, I
Um,
totally
he's a
agree.
little-
Also,
like
corny,
corny,
Weird
but-
Al kind of just, yeah.
He's like the guy you
Wholesome.
take your kids to the show, but then inside you're going, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
I have
Disney
been
movie.
a serious musician
Pixar movie, sorry.
I've been a serious musician for over 20 years. I still have zero issues saying I love Weird Al.
Yeah.
Weird Al is super underrated, and he's so talented.
Very talented.
Um,
and still
so
going.
I got no problem saying I love me some Weird Al.
He's a vampire.
Very good. Well, with that
Still
note,
going.
we're going to say bye to you. Again,
Yeah.
we're the Rockstar Group with West USA Realty of Prescott, located here at the Gateway Mall, Suite 284. Come by, check out the Rockstar Studios. And hey, Kellen,
Hey,
let's get to work.
let's go.
Tucker, let's get to work.
Sounds good.
Have a good one. See you
Good
next
one,
week.
guys.
Thanks.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Spotlight on Prescott is proudly sponsored by the Rockstar Group at West USA Realty of Prescott. To find out what your home can sell for in today's market, or to start the search for your new Prescott area home, visit us at newprescotthomes.com. Have an awesome weekend, and be sure to tune in every Thursday morning for Spotlight on Prescott.